everybody, Marissa here from Ledbury Lion's Mane. I look like I'm going into theatre, but I'm going to inoculate my grains or my sawdust with my grain spawn today. So I need to have a hygienic area and making sure that everything that I've got is actually proper and clean. So that's why I've got my hairnet and I've got my mask that I'm going to be putting on now, and I've got a proper cover. But what I first want to do is I want to show you guys a little bit of what my grow room looks like. So I'm just going to show you guys exactly that you can see the grow room. There's not a lot of mushrooms in there at the moment. Getting started again with new batches, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I've got my mask on as well. I don't enter my grow room without my mask so that I don't breathe in any of the spores or anything. So let me show you guys what it looked like in the grow room. Okay, so I'm entering the grow room now. As you guys can see, everything is properly sealed with polystyrene. We've got our cold room set up here. Over here I've got my ultrasonic mister. I've got my air pipe coming in. We first had it connected to the roof, and then yesterday we cut it off so that we can have a look and see what difference does it make when it's on the floor. Trying to test everything out for proper airflow. And then over here I've got a couple of beautiful babies on the shelf. Just look at these lion's mane growing beautifully. Those ones are starting as well. Everything is getting together, so I'm very excited. You can see on these ones as well, they're starting. They still have to go a little bit, and yeah, then this is the grow room setup. I still need to bring in the other shelves as well. For now I only have this one in here because I'm only getting started with a new batch of growth. So just to show you guys, I've got my ultrasonic mister in here, a DIY box that we built it ourselves. You can see I've got some videos on my YouTube channel for that as well, and they're just switched on. So let me show you. If I open this, look at the beautiful mist that it makes. I've got a 6-head ultrasonic mister in there, and then the mist starts coming out of this pipe. And if we stay in here much longer, we won't be able to see in front of us because it really makes quite a lot of mist. So yes, with the ducting that comes in, we're trying to test and see where we create the best airflow. That's why it's just on the floor now. Try to test it and see if we have it on the floor, if it maybe will help a little bit with moving the air everywhere. And then over there you can also see I've got an extractor fan that runs 24/7 to get rid of the CO2 that builds up in the grow room. So that runs 24/7. Then over here is my sensor for my humidity and temperature sensor. This is a Sonoff sensor that I'm using. I'll show you guys. Now the nice thing with this sensor is I also have it on my phone. So on my phone I'll be able to monitor, and I can see my stats, how the humidity goes up and down, and track it properly to make sure that if there's any issues, I also get an alarm on my phone that tells me, hey, your ultrasonic mister is not working, or the temperature. So yes, everything that we do here is also, we're completely off the grid. So we do everything with solar power. So I try to use as little as possible solar so that I can actually don't use too much energy. But this pipe on the outside, it actually goes into a clean box as well, a polystyrene box with a HEPA filter. So the air that blows in is complete, and that goes out there to the clean air box that is also cooling down the air. So the idea around this room that we've built here, behind this polystyrene there's also insulation. There's some videos on my YouTube channel that you can check out on that as well. How did we build this room? It's really to cool the place down. So it's basically like a cold room that we've built it in here. To have that, if the temperature gets warmer, we're in the Northwest province here in South Africa, so it gets quite hot in the summer. And the big idea behind it is to be able to cool the room down so that we can grow the lion's mane mushrooms straight through the year. So yes, over here in the corner I've got a little of an experiment. I wanted to grow it in plastic PVC pipes. However, in my barrel steamer, it got way too hot and it melted the plastic. So I thought, well, I'm not going to just chuck them and throw them out. I want to see what happened. And there you can see it's a little lion's mane growing. but obviously this is not working properly. So I tried, experimented, but it didn't work properly. So you can see now how the room is starting to fill up beautifully with the mist. And every time the ultrasonic mister comes on as well, it also cools down the air in the room. So my idea is also in the summer, when we have our 35 to 38 degrees Celsius, I'll be putting a block of ice inside this to cool it down even more. Okay, so just to show you guys what I mean, if this ultrasonic mister is on, you can barely see in front of you in this room. And it's now really running good strength. And once my humidity is up to the right level where I want it, then it will switch off again with that sensor. But you can see I'm standing at the door, you can't even see the shelf. Here's the ultrasonic mister right in front of me. But this thing is hectic. It really works amazingly. I just love it. So it really makes a big difference. You can see in the grow room, there's the shelf. If I walk a little closer, you can see it clearer. But this is just amazing to see how wonderful this ultrasonic mister is working. Alrighty, so let's move out of here so that I can start doing the grain inoculation into my sawdust. So just to show you guys, after I've steamed it, we took this out of the barrel steamer around about 11 o'clock last night. So then we just came to put them here to cool down. So they're properly cooled down, and now I'm going to start moving it into the clean room in the lab type of area, wipe them all down properly, and then I'm going to do my inoculation with my grains. Okay, so just to show you guys, I've got my substrate in here now, and I've got a cloth with a bleach solution, water, that I'm cleaning my bags properly. And after I get them cleaned, then only I will start opening everything and get it inoculated. So each one of these bags must now first be properly cleaned. The reason why I clean it is we want to make sure that there's no contaminants on the bags and everything is nice and hygienic before we open our grain spawn. So the grain spawn that I'm using is a G1 that's going to go directly into my substrate. I've decided I want to have a nice strong base, and I don't want to use a G2. I'm testing it at the moment, and I want to see if the results that I'm going to get will be better if I do it that way. Okay. So all my bags must first be cleaned. I've already sprayed down my table with alcohol as well and wiped it with a bleach, just to make sure that I've got any contamination eliminated, so that everything is nice and clean for us to do the inoculation. This way, when I'm doing this, I also check all my bags to make sure that I don't have any bursts or anything like that. I'm using polyprop bags. They don't have the filters, so I use a piece of pipe with cotton wool as my filter, because the mushrooms need to breathe. The mycelium gives off CO2, and it needs to get fresh air in as well, fresh oxygen, and for that reason I am using my pipe and my cotton wool mixture there. I'll just get that rinsed off again. Clean bleach water. It's very important to check that everything is proper and nothing has bursted when you want to inoculate it, so that you make sure your bags are steady and you don't have anything that bursted. Sometimes the bags do burst, and you want to make sure you don't have that, because if it bursted after it came out of the substrate, after they come out of the steamer that I've got, my drum steamer, then there's already contamination in there. And you can't take a chance to use it. I'm not going to put it in a new bag. It was open during the night where there was a burst. I actually have one here. Let me show you. I've got one that's got a little burst there on the seam of the bag. So this one is going to be thrown out. That will go onto our compost heap for the vegetable garden again. So the idea behind the mushroom growing, I'm only focusing on lion's mane. Lion's mane, over and above the health benefits that it have, for the medicinal benefits, it is such a lovely meat alternative. Lion's mane steaks, you can make crab cakes. It's got such a great texture that you can really replace your meat with mushrooms. And I love my mushrooms and I don't like meat, so I wanted to get something as a proper meat alternative. One of the issues that I have with a lot of the vegan meat alternatives that you get on the market is very high in soya. And I don't think people always realize that soya is a natural estrogen. So if you keep on eating soya, you are pumping your body full of estrogen, and that can have an effect on your hormone balances as well. So I don't like to have a lot of soya meat alternatives because of the estrogen. Also, if you start feeding your children from a young age just a lot of soya, their hormone levels will absolutely be affected by it because of all the estrogen that soya creates in the body. You can definitely go and read up about it. And the other thing is as well, some of the meat alternatives that you get are tasteless, and if you chew it for a long time it becomes like a chappy. I don't like that. I want something that is nutritious, that is delicious, and that I know doesn't have all kinds of hormonal effects or anything on my body. Something that's very important for me is to make sure whatever I put in my body is good for me. I don't say you can't eat soya products at all. I personally don't prefer to eat a lot of soya products because of the estrogen that it have, and it turns into estrogen in your body. So for that purpose, personally, I don't want to eat too much soya products. But lion's mane mushrooms, well, mushrooms generally is an amazing alternative, and I like the lion's mane. It's got a very strong mushroomy taste, and if you marinate it properly, then it tastes like meat. You can have that, so you can even have it on a braai. Okay, so I've got those bags all wiped off now. I'm going to rinse that and rinse my hands again in the bleach water and get clean clothes. So now I am going to bring out my grains that I'm going to introduce into these bags. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 11 bags. And in those 11 bags, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my grain spawn. You guys will see this is a G1. It was inoculated with liquid culture on the 25th of the 6th month. So these ones are quite ready, already broken it up so that the mycelium is not so tight in it. I can show you guys the beautiful mycelium growth that is on these grains. These are on mushroom popcorn, and I get all my grains directly from Holy Shiitake. They're my grain supplier, so I just love using their products. Just want to spray this with my alcohol as well before I open the bag. And then I'm going to give it a proper wipe down. Just going to get my paper towel here. The reason why we do this is we need to keep a proper sterile environment. So make sure that everything is clean and sterile before I use or open anything. Okay. Also what I've got is I've got my pipes that I'm going to use for my cotton wool to breathe in a bucket with bleach water. So before I open anything there, I give them a proper wipe down with the bleach water, and then I'm going to pack them on a paper towel so that they can drip dry while I'm busy putting in my grains. just gonna get this right. I have to get 11, 12. Okay. So I just want to give all of them a proper wipe down, making sure that there's no contamination on the pipe rings that I've made. I've sawed these, well, not sawed them, I actually used a little baby grinder to cut them. It's a 32mm water pipe that I just chopped up into these little pieces, and then that works beautifully to put on my bags and put my cotton wool in so that my bags can actually breathe properly. Okay, do this. I also have a little scale here. I'm also just wiping it down with my alcohol just to make sure it's also clean before I put it on the table. The reason why I've got my scale here is I want to keep track and see exactly what the weight is for each of my bags. You guys can see when I had the last little bit of my sawdust mix, this bag is smaller than the others because it was the last bit, and I decided I'm not going to throw away that away, I'm going to use it. But now I want to know what each bag weighs, because I want to go for at least something like around about a 15% grain on sawdust ratio, so that my grains can actually populate properly and fast. So if I weigh this one now, that small one weighs 1.452 grams. I'm aiming to get roughly a 1.5 bags, I must say. That one is 1.48, so roughly that was what I was aiming for. So I've got it right in the range that I want. That one is 1515. So this way I can just keep track and see, okay, roughly most of my bags will be 1.5 kilos. And I measured it. So my substrate mix that I'm using is blue gum sawdust, so hardwood, and then I also add a little bit of wheat husks in there. So now I've got my grains. I'm also just weighing that again. Okay, so I roughly know how much I need to put into each bag, and making sure that what I'm doing it properly. Got my little scalpel here. Also just spraying it with the alcohol first, and then I just want to grab the paper towel again, so I can just wipe everything again. Just to make sure I've got everything hygienically clean. I'll also use rubber bands to make sure that I've got my pipe pieces of the mouth of my bags properly opened, and then I can use it. So just to put down my scalpel, I'm going to put it down on that paper towel that's got the alcohol spray on it as well. And then I'm going to take out my cotton wool. It's alright. I also sterilized, clean cotton wool that I'm using for my ear patches basically. And now I'm ready to get started. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take it bag by bag. I'm only going to cut a small hole into my grain spawn bag so that I can pour it from the grain spawn bag directly into the sawdust. I don't want to have any other extra contact points that can cause any kind of contamination. I want to make sure that I've got it properly. So I'm removing the rubber band from this bag. Just want to loosen up the sawdust mixture a little bit so it can mix in easier. Okay, just fold that open over because I don't want anything to go into it. And here we go. Opening my grain spawn bag. So that is open. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be placing my sawdust on my scale, and then from there I can watch how many grains I'm actually adding into my grains, into my sawdust, so I can have a rough idea about 15% that I'm going to be adding. Okay, if you open this guy and start pouring in my grains. So what I've done now is I've added 200 grams. Maybe I must just move this out so that you guys can see me better. Maybe put it a bit lower. Okay, so I've got my grains added to my sawdust now, to my substrate. So what I would like to do is I first want to give it that fell off there. Let's do it that way. I want to give it a little bit of a shake so that I can mix my grains in with my sawdust, so that I don't have everything just clotted at one point. So shake the bag up. I'm holding it tight here at the top so that there's no air coming into it. Gently shaking it up, making sure I'm distributing those grains into the grain spoon or into the sawdust. Okay. So that is distributed. So now what I do is I take my piece of water pipe and I put it through the plastic through that. Before I fold it over, I like to cut off the extra piece here at the top so that I don't have a big piece of plastic. I don't know if it's really needed, but I like to do it because I don't want this big piece of plastic hanging over. I fold it open and I immediately stuff it with my clean cotton wool. So now nothing can get in there anymore. That's beautiful there. And then I take a rubber band and I put that around. There we go. So to show you, that is exactly what I've been doing now. I do have some of the grains there at the top still, but I've also moved them so they're quite low down as well. And this baby is ready to go onto the shelf so that I can get it inoculated, so that it can actually go into incubation now. And that is exactly how I do my grain transfer. Okay, I'm just going to finish up with all of these.